So I'm Eric Guth, 4Z1UG, and I'm going to talk to you today about the QSO Today Virtual Ham Expo coming up March 12th and 13th. This will be the fourth expo that we've done from here. So while I'm in Israel, the expo is intended for my ham radio clan, which is all in North America. So this is the fourth one that we're doing. We've had some trials and tribulations along the way, but those trials and tribulations, I think, have helped us to make a better expo each time. So let's start there. Let me see, make sure that when I advance this, okay, a brief bio about me. I've been licensed almost 50 years. I was first licensed as a novice in 1973. I had the horrible call sign as a novice of WN6VHV. When I had a chance to eject it, I did by having a secondary license at the time for a remotely controlled station. And when the FCC said I could get rid of one, I got rid of the VHV pretty quick. I have an extra class license in Israel, where I live now, and I've been here for 21 years. I am a Class A, which is the same as an extra, and my call sign is 4 Zulu 1 Uniform Golf. I always wanted to be an engineer, and that's why I got a degree in history at UC Santa Barbara. I couldn't do differential equations to save my life. My vocation is I'm a serial entrepreneur, so I have always had companies since I was a young man. I took a stint in the late 90s to be a cable television executive, and with an exit in cable television, that's how I ended up being able to make the move here in 2000. I'm married almost 40 years. I have two grown sons, and I have 6 grandchildren that live 30 minutes away from me in Jerusalem. My QTH is Efrat, Israel. Efrat is about 8 miles south of the old city of Jerusalem on Highway 60. So if you drew a line up and down the middle of Israel, that's Highway 60, and I'm 8 miles south of Jerusalem on Highway 60. I started the QSO Today podcast in 2014. I interview ham radio operators for about an hour a week. I'm interested in the ham radio story. Most of the ham radio operators that I've interviewed are people that are us. Looking at the demographic here this morning, it appears to me that most of you are over 50, and I'll just put that up. You're over 50. You tend to have been in amateur radio probably for a long time, and so we tell those stories. Although I'm getting bold now in telling stories of younger people, because I have discovered that they have some interesting takes on amateur radio if they've only been in the ham radio hobby for less than 10 years. I've recorded 389 episodes so far, almost 400 hours of audio, and I'm supported by commercial and listener sponsors. Let's see here. My goals with the podcast is to entertain. First of all, I love the medium of audio and audio listening. I grew up listening to KABC in Los Angeles, along with 93 KHJ. So anybody that's from LA knows, I see Larry's nodding. Anybody that knows the LA market, I grew up in the LA market, and I love listening. I love listening more than video, and that's why I don't have a YouTube channel, because I think most of the people like to listen as they're doing something else, like mowing the lawn, walking the dog, or driving someplace. And but the purpose of the QSO Today podcast is to also educate. The idea, by hearing the amateur radio stories maybe over and over again, is that I want anybody that might be new to ham radio or coming back to ham radio to have this idea that the people they're listening to, who tend to be very successful at amateur radio, made a lot of mistakes along the way, and that's the only way that you learn ham radio, is to try it, burn it up maybe, but come back and do it over again, and that's what makes ham radio expertise. The COVID-19 pandemic, it looks like we're Oh, no, that's not me. Sorry about that. That's my DMR. For some reason, I left it on. The COVID-19 pandemic caused me to rethink the whole ham radio convention thing in 2000 or 2020. I was going to come to the Dayton Hamvention. I don't get to come every year because my schedule might be full of other obligations in May. But 2020 seemed like a good time to come back to the Dayton Hamvention, and then it closed because of COVID. And at the time, I started thinking, okay, well, it's not Dayton. I'll go to something else. So maybe I'll go to Friedrichshafen, or I'll go to something in August. Well, everything closed down, as you know, and as a result of that, I got this idea. Well, why don't I create a ham radio expo, and we'll do it online, since nobody had done that yet. And so that's how the QSO Today Virtual Ham Expo was born. Okay, so now I'm going to break for a second. All of you that are watching, if you don't mind, if you'll open up a browser tab and put in this link, because towards the end of this presentation, I have a demonstration, and if you'll help me with the demonstration, then it'll be actually more interesting. So it's Kumo Space, KUMO space.com/ham expo. You can log in there at any time. You don't have to. If you look at the bottom underneath the enter with Facebook, there's a place where you can enter without putting any information in. If you'll just enter there and go to the lobby and wait for me, then we'll be able to demonstrate this online, and there'll be some people there. Okay, continuing. Okay, so the QSO Today Virtual Ham Expo first came live on August of 2020. Some stats about that, or actually before I do that, I'll show you kind of some pictures of it. It has an outdoor lobby, so here's the outdoor lobby. You click on the building, you go inside. It has an indoor lobby. It has people walking around. So there's some animation, so it looks like there's actually people walking around. If you click on the doors, exhibit hall, you go into an exhibit hall that has exhibits. If you go into the auditorium, click on the auditorium, you go into an auditorium, click on the presentation screen, and you get the whole listing. Now, as we've done these expos, we run between 60 and 100 presentations on a weekend. And so this coming expo will be about 60 presentations. Okay, so our first expo results. In 2020, we got 25,000 that first time registered, 16,000 attended that weekend. We learned a lot about how these systems work in terms of how do you feed, if the average session attendance was at the time 3,700, how do you give 3,700 people simultaneously great video? We learned about things like CDN, content distribution networks, so that all of that video could be spooled up and delivered beautifully. What we learned is that from polling, that 60% of the people that came, about 9,000 that time, never went to national shows, and that 40% of those people never went to any local shows either. So we decided, at least we thought, that perhaps there is a future for the expo, because we'll have people that will come because they never go anywhere else if our presentations and our program was good. So we've done this 3 times. I was here last year. I came here to RATPAC last year after the March Expo. In the March Expo last year, I tried something new. I tried to merge the vFairs platform, which is our convention platform, with a company called AirMeet. I love both companies, so the only problem that went wrong was the implementation, the crossover between the two platforms. So I disappointed a lot of people. I think I surprised a lot of people in terms of, if they got on the AirMeet platform, they really had a great weekend, because the AirMeet platform at the time had, and still does, has tables with chairs, and you could actually see who was sitting at which tables. You could take a chair and you could have a video conference like we're having right now on Zoom. And it was, from that standpoint, it was a game changer. From from that standpoint, it was a game changer. On the other hand, for people that were not were maybe not quite tech savvy when it comes to figuring out the internet, it was hard for them. So I was here last year giving you a presentation about what happened at the March Expo and how that went. But we did it again the following or last August, and we had over 6,000 registrations. Now you see the number of registrations is coming down. Over 5,000 hams attended. We had almost 100 presentations, probably, given the number of presenters, probably about 120 presenters. We did it on our vFairs platform. We pre-record everything, so all of these presentations are semi-live, meaning that the presentations are pre-recorded. We load them up on the platform so they start on time. And then we do live Q&A. Last time we did live Q&A on Zoom. That was kind of okay. It wasn't Zoom webinar, it was actually Zoom rooms. And it caused some problems if somebody came in, with their dog barking in the background. But for the most part, it turned out okay. And then we spent 2.5 months editing video, taking 100 videos and adding the Q&A portion. And those videos are now up on our Vimeo channel. And we got high grades for our results. So we're feeling good about it. We're feeling good about offering it, at this point, twice a year. So March is coming up. Okay, we're in partnership with the ARRL. They come back each time to be our partner. That partnership means that we cross-promote each other. We think that what the ARRL does for American hams, and I'm sure that that's controversial, but what they do for us and what they do for ham radio in the long term, I think is well worthwhile, and that's why the ARRL is our partner. We have two major sponsors. Flex Radio has come back for the fourth time the third time as a platinum sponsor. That means that they make a large investment towards the Expo, but they tell us that it's worth every penny that they pay into the Expo because of the amount of goodwill and radios they sell. The gold sponsor is Elecraft, and you can see we're down from other gold sponsors, but these two companies actually know how to operate in the Expo. They have a very good turnout in terms of people that come to visit them and learn about them, and we're grateful that they come back each time. I did something different. The first time we did this, we had a keynote speaker. That keynote speaker was Scott, K0MD, Scott Wright, and he talked about the COVID plasma project, and that was very interesting at the time because COVID was new, and we probably all wanted to know more about it and what could be done about it. The second time, last May, we had David Minster from the ARRL, and he did the keynote presentation. Last August, we didn't have a keynote, but this time I wanted a keynote speaker that we could talk optimistically about what's happening in amateur radio and how we make a difference. So Courtney is a retired engineer from the Jet Propulsion Laboratory in Pasadena. It's affiliated with Caltech and with NASA. It's a NASA project, essentially. And what I wanted Courtney to talk about, and this is kind of why the title is so long, is that I think that amateur radio operators over the last 100 years have been involved in man's big projects. These are projects that go well beyond us, that perhaps, exploring, space and deep space, it doesn't have immediate benefits, but it does have long-term benefits. And what are the roles that amateur radio operators play in these kinds of big projects? So Courtney, having worked at JPL, his expertise is in communication packages for space vehicles. His last project before he retired was the radio package that was on the Mars helicopter. So the little package that allowed the helicopter to talk to the Mars rover as it flew around, that was a project that Courtney headed and put up before he retired. So he is our keynote speaker. And anyway, that's the that's where we're going to leave that. I'm going to change my screen now because I think I'm going to show you a little bit about the Expo. So this is the Expo website. It's QSO today, hamexpo.com. It is designed by me. That's why it doesn't have a lot of eye appeal. I'm kind of very utilitarian, and I know how to drag and drop things, but I'm not an artist. So if everybody will bear, with that, then it's pretty functional. These buttons here go to various places in the site. So the most important button I'll show people is the register button. It says register here, and then the button is on the right. I get a lot of emails from people that say, where is the register button on your website? It's at the top of the page. It's to the right of register here. I have a little story about the Expo in the next portion. We're going to have a build-a-thon this time. So Rex and Stephen are coming back. And with 2 build-a-thons, these are live broadcasts. They will actually build the kits online live, and the people that come to it can interact with them. If they buy the kits directly from Rex beforehand, they can build those kits with Rex on the 12th and 13th. Here is our speakers. Now, I put a little piece of everything on the main page here, but if you go to presentations, for example, I actually have all of them lined up here, so you can actually see all the presentations. And there's a lot. There's and they go from. I know that Andre put this at intermediate, but I think that deep dive into an FPGA implementation of a DVB-S2. Frankly, I could hardly say it. I can hardly understand it, but I think that this is a presentation that will interest people at the advanced or expert level. But we have everything from very beginner to expert. The way that this presentation thing works is all of this is being driven by some automation that I have my Ukrainian programmer do. So, for example, if you click on the title, you can see what the presentation's about, who the speaker is, the speaker's bio. There's little buttons. You can share them on social media if you want, and then we can go back to the list. So that's how that works. Speakers, if I go to speakers, then I see all of the speakers much better, and they also scroll like this. And if you click on the picture, you also get the biography of the person that you're interested in knowing more about. Okay. One of the things that we're going to do differently this time is instead of using AirMeet, instead of using chat on the vFairs platform, we're going to use a new thing called Kumo Space, and I gave you that link now. So I'm just going to go over to Kumo Space. If I can, let me see. I know what I have to do. Sorry about this, guys. When you're sharing your screen, you can't get to the buttons. Okay, I'm going to allow this now. Hopefully I won't disappear. Push this up. Well, let me see. Is he going to let me in? I have a conflict with this camera. So can I turn this camera off and go to the other camera? Will that work?
Try it. See what happens.
Yeah. Okay. Let's see. Let's see if I can. Too much technology. Here, let's do it this way. Can I access your camera and microphone? Well, I'm going to continue without it in this case. Okay, because I can still do the demonstration, and you'll get the idea. So this is our Kumo Space lobby, and Kumo Space is a new system like the system that we used last year at AirMeet, except it's open now so that anyone can come visit any of these lounges now. Let me see if anybody has come yet. Now's your chance to log in here and come to this lobby, and then I'll tell you where to go. So the way this works is that this is like a video chat system, except we actually have a room. So I'm going to go, if you log into Kumo Space, I'm going to go to the Relax in the QSO Today Spa. So if you'll go into the lobby and click on the screen, there we go. Ray's in there already. And Ray, you can turn your camera on if you want. Okay, you might have to mute your audio.
Yeah, I'm conflicted on the camera. I just have the one.
Yeah, okay, so that's okay. So, but you're gonna have to turn your audio down or mute your audio. Okay. Mute your on the bottom there, Ray. There's a microphone button. Just click on that too. Okay, so if Ray wasn't in the Zoom session, then and neither was I, then maybe it's me that's feeding back here. So let me see. This is ham radio. Everyone's used to some issue. Okay. Okay, so this is Kumo Space, and Kumo Space in this particular place looks like my salon. And I can zoom out so I can see more of the room. I can move any place in the room. Like I want to sit in this chair here, let's see here. I can open this map here on the side, and I can go sit in the chair. Ray, you can come and click on the chair, and you can also move so that we're in the same place and we can have a conversation. So I'll just give, while people are coming in, I'll just give a tour of how this room works. So the first thing is around me, as you'll see, there's a circle here. That circle is the audio circle. So anybody that's inside that circle, I will see if my camera was working, and I will hear them. Anybody that's over here, if they're not inside my circle, I won't hear them. That means that there can be multiple conversations in this room. This is a map of the entire room. There's on the right-hand side is a menu, so I can zoom in and zoom out. But right here, this is what makes this map. And the map shows me the entire room. So I can actually come down here and I can see that there's Dave down here. I can see that there's Ray right here. If I want to join them, all I have to do is click on the map like this, and I can go and join Dave and Ray and Dan. Okay, and Dan has his camera on, so we know that it works. And if I want to say, hey guys, let's go talk in the deep end of the pool, then I can go click on the corner of the pool, and you guys can too. And I'm going to go to the swimming pool. So if you guys will open up the map and click on the swimming pool up where I'm at, then you can follow me up there as well. So the Kumo Space rooms, then there's a number of them. They all work kind of the same way. So there's a chat feature at the bottom, so I can actually chat with people in the room, in this room and the other rooms nearby, and I can with individuals, so I can actually send a message to Dan if I want. I can see all the people in the room. I can see that Mike's waiting to come in. Okay. It has the same features as Zoom. So there's camera on, off. Here's microphone on, off. If I was a host of the room, I could broadcast like I'm sharing my screen in Zoom and make presentations. This broadcast actually allows me to talk, to talk throughout the entire room to people, even if they're not in my circle, if I'm a host or co-host. And then I can go back to the lobby by pushing this button. There's a bunch of settings here. Depending upon whether I'm a host, co-host, or just an attendee, I can change the size of that circle in the room. So I can make those circles smaller if I want to have a more intimate conversation with the people. Let me see. I'll just show you here that. Okay, see, here we are in the pool. They're all in my circle, so I can have a conversation with everyone in the pool while people are having a conversation anywhere else. So the idea here is that at the Expo, all of our exhibitors, with the exception of two, will actually have these rooms. They'll have their own rooms. I'm going to exit and go back to the lobby so I can show you these rooms. So, for example, the rooms have different layouts. I chose to make a spa for me, but for the Expo, my room will actually be the inside of the bridge of this spaceship here. Flex Radio, let me see what Flex is doing. Flex, I think, has, theirs has gone offline because they're building it. Elecraft has a room that kind of looks like this, so it has 6 seating areas. This is a demo lounge, and again, they all work the same way, so I'll just go in there so you can see. Mike is in there already. There you go. It can play video. Let me just move to a different place. I actually may have, here we go. Okay, guys, I'm in the upper left corner. You can open up the map and you can click on one of the chairs and you can join me at the table. There's also props on Kumo Space. So, for example, I can take a drink here or a coffee, and you'll see the level of it go down the longer I'm sitting there, having coffee with whoever's sitting at the table with me and having a conversation. There you go. So Dan has found a place on the couch. He's outside of my circle, so he'll hear the people that are sitting around him, but he won't hear the people around the table that I'm at. There you go. So if we had our cameras and microphones on, then Dan would hear me and see me, and so would Ray. So that's Kumo Space. And I'm going to exit this Kumo Space now so that I can get the video and audio back. Okay, back to that. So that's Kumo Space. That's the Expo as it's coming up. We hope that will interact very well. The Kumo Spaces are open from now until the end of the Expo 30-day period. I'm hoping that people will try that. I'll send emails out to everyone who's ticketed and everyone who hasn't yet so they can actually try these spaces and see how they work. That way everyone will have practice before the Expo weekend. And then the only last thing I'm going to talk about is where is this all going? Where this is all going is that I'm building a QSO Today community. It's going to be built on the same engine that QRZ uses for their community. The reason is because hams know that particular navigating that particular engine for sharing information. And the goal of the QSO Today Community Circle, I'll announce it in more detail at the Expo, is to create an open university of ham radio. With this Expo, we'll have over 200 presentations that can be used as a foundation for projects. The hope is that old hams, new hams, returning hams who are interested in moving a project along but need a mentor to be successful, the hope is that by building the community and people joining the community, and that community consists of people who've made presentations, who've been guests of the QSO Today podcast, and who want to interact with those people, that we can actually create some ham radio success. So the idea is to allow someone that wants to go in real deep on John. I always pick on John Portune W6 NBC's Delta slot antenna so that they can go from beginning to end and have that antenna at the very end of the project and be on the air with it. The idea is to create ham radio success. And so I'll have more details about the circle coming up, but at the Expo. But that's kind of where all of this is headed. So that perhaps in 2023, there might be only one Expo a year, but we'll have monthly presentations. We'll have perhaps March will not be an Expo so much as maybe a limited number of presentations around project success. That's the idea. That's my story. I'm sticking to it, and I'm ready for questions. Let me see if I can figure out how to stop sharing the screen. Okay. Does anybody have?
And Dan's got his hand up.
Hello, Eric, once again.
Hey there.
Is your Ukrainian programmer in the Ukraine?
He is. In fact, he is. Yes.
Hopefully you've got a backup programmer on hand.
No, I have to tell you, the programmers, I get the programmers on a system called Upwork. In fact, I've had the best success finding people for the Expo using Upwork, but they're all over the world. So the young man that helped me with all of the programming last year happened to be in Algeria. And unfortunately, when the Algerian government intercepted our communication, he became persona non grata in Algeria after being tortured and beaten up. So fortunately, he's now been able to leave Algeria without citizenship, and he's moved to another country, which hopefully is much better. And he's kind of back in the circle so that he can help. Vlad in the Ukraine is an excellent programmer, and he and his family this week are on Edge. So that's kind of how that works. Emanuela, who handles all of the exhibitors for the fourth time this time, is in Italy. And she has very good English, and she's become very good friends with Bruna Bigali at Bigali Key. And we've done very well with our international crew. I have people in North America that help, and I have people here in the city of Efrat that also help me with the Expo and all of the things I don't do very well, which is a lot of things I don't do very well, and that's why I'm willing to share the work.
Hopefully you do have a secure place for Vlad to store his source code.
Of course, yeah. It's it is. We have our own servers that kind of interact with everything. I mean, for the people that might be interested, I've used different companies for managing the Expo. This time, those companies either sold, and they sold the platform right from under us. So this time I'm using a thing called Airtable, and then what Vlad does is he links all of the Airtable tables to everything you're seeing online. So everything that you see on the Expo website is generated from the forms, databases, and tables that are in Airtable. So you might see overnight, you might see new speakers pop up, or the moderators, the people who are volunteering, their pictures will come up tomorrow, and that's all generated from the automation that Vlad has made and the servers that we run in order to kind of hold it all together. Any other questions?
I don't see any hands up. Barry, what do you got?
Nothing in chat.
I'm sorry. Oh, I should be looking at chat too. Is that?
Well, Barry monitors it. If you can see it and read it, that'd be fine.
Okay, let me see if I've you can run into the potted plants, Elizabeth, and that's no problem. You can even stand in a potted plant on Kumo Space and still have the ability to talk to people. The chairs are the chairs that you see in Kumo Space are suggestions of how to group people, but the idea is actually to get the group in the circle and then you can have conversations. So you don't have to stand on ceremony and actually be in a chair. You can actually be in the potted plant. Larry.
Yes, Larry, you got your hand up. Go for it.
There we go. I had to find my button. How large is your circle, or can you vary it by size? In other words, if you want to have a proper personal conversation with somebody, can you shrink it down just to 2 people? Or if you want to address a group of 20, can you expand it?
That's a good question. I think that the size of the circle depends upon what the co-host allows. So we have, depending upon the size of the vendor or the exhibitor. So, for example, Bengali, their lounge will hold, I think, up to 32 simultaneous people. So the way we license this with Kumo Space is we have to buy all of the concurrent users in terms of the number. So that'll probably be almost 1,000 by the time we're all done. And so in Begali's booth, the 32 people can be in there simultaneous, and so therefore we'll have to decide what those clusters look like in advance, and then create the circle size. So you won't have individual control of your circle size. The host will have control over the circle size, and probably where we have higher density, we'll make those circles smaller, so people will actually have to stand closer to each other to all be in the circle. What's interesting about those circles is as you go away from a group that's talking, the audio gets less, and as you approach a group that's talking, the audio increases until you're in the circle. So it has some very interesting characteristics, for allowing groups to cluster in the same room. So that's, I think that might answer your question, Larry, in terms of, I don't think you're going to have control over the circle size. The host will do that. Now, by the way, in a room that's I'm sorry.
I was just going to say, is you still requiring masks?
No masks. You don't even need pants, Larry, as long as you remain sitting. So as long as you remain sitting, you don't need pants, you don't need a mask, you don't need a vaccine certificate. Just come to the expo.
Okay, anybody else?
Did I go through this presentation too fast, Dan? Did you want something longer?
No, you're fine. You're fine. We never know how long the Q&A is going to be or whatever, but you got more you want to add to it now. You got plenty of time to do it.
Well, does anyone have any questions about the QSO Today podcast? Because frankly, that's my first love. The Expo, I love it. It's become another child, but the podcast I've been doing since 2014. I've interviewed 391 hams so far. We talk about their ham radio story from the very beginning to the end. It seems like maybe half of them have all built crystal radios when they first started.
Trust me, I was on one of those pods with podcasts, and he gets this stuff out. He's talented at yanking this stuff out, stuff you didn't even remember that you could remember.
Well, that's why I tell people don't start with the first ones. Although I do have listeners that will go, they'll discover the podcast and then they'll download all of them and they'll start at the very beginning. I've gotten better, over the years. I'm even actually using this microphone. Before, I was using a surplus operator's headset as a microphone for about the first 100 episodes until I could afford to buy a microphone. But no, getting the story out is a specialty. It's an interesting thing about the podcast. When you invite people, the most accomplished ham radio operators, they will say, "Oh, I don't have a ham radio story. There's no story to tell. I'm not very interesting." Almost all of them, well, at least 50% say that, and then they come on, and I can get an hour and a half out of them, and they have an amazing story. Everybody has a story. Everyone here, I'm sure, has a story to tell, and they just need somebody to ask them the right questions.
Okay. Well, I'm not seeing any hands up. Barry, you don't see anything in chat?
Nope, everything is good.
Well, this is going to end up early. This is, you get to go back.
I might get to go back to bed early.
Yes, yes. Well, I really appreciate you coming on and doing this and, you know, taking the time and everything. Like I say, this thing will, oh, wait a minute, Larry's, he's just clapping and putting his hand up. Okay, yeah, this will be rebroadcast and rebroadcast again. It goes, I just got an email today about some websites that goes on, so it'll be well seen, and I think a lot of people will enjoy it.
Right. If they, again, the Kumo Space lounges are open. So, so go try it, you know, take your friends there, try it out, because we're interested in making sure that everyone knows how to use them on the day of the expo. QSO today, hamexpo.com is the website. You can start there, always return there. People, last year I had about 100 people say they couldn't get into the expo. And I posted instructions. I made a huge button that said enter here. There was a video. If you just go to the website will, I keep it up to date in terms of how to get in, how to work with it. If there's any problems, I'm also at the end of my telephone and email. So if you need any help with that, do that. And thank you so much, Dan, for inviting me again. I really appreciate speaking to your group about the QSO Today project, and that project is turning into 3 projects. And I hope that that you will, all of you will participate in some way in one of the QSO Today projects. I'm out to promote ham radio. I think it's the greatest hobby since sliced bread, and I hope to see you on the air. Thanks so much.
Dan's got his hand up. He's anxious to talk. Take it away. Dan.
Well, before you go, Eric, have you considered putting an abstract of your little tutorial on how to move around in Kumo Space, someplace where you kind of have to go through it before you start? Because
Well, as a matter of fact, on the website, QSO Today, hamexpo.com website, if you push on the gold button that says Kumo Space, shall I share my screen again and show it to you?
Go ahead.
Okay, so let's go back here. Okay, so here's the main website again. See, it says try Kumo Space. Click on that, push on that button. Here is a video demonstration from Kumo Space on how that works. And then here's my tutorial on how to log in. And then here's the place to visit the room. So it's on the web page. The home page has a piece of everything that we're doing. And then to go in detail, you just click on these other buttons here. But it's on there. Okay?
have you
I'm sorry.
You're breaking up.
starting with
Dan, I think you're trying to talk and you're breaking up.
2, do this, 3, do this, and 4, do that? Because no, I mean, what's 100% apparent and logical to you is not going to be the same to some large percentage of people you hope will get involved.
Good point. Good point, Dan. So what you'd like to see is start here. Step 1, step 2, step 3.
Yeah, basically.
I'll do that for you. Sure. That's a great idea. It wouldn't occur to me, but now that you've mentioned it, it seems like a great idea. So I'll modify the website so that you can start 1 by watching the first video, start 2 by watching the second video. I'll do that for you. Sure.
And mention how few minutes each video is. Otherwise, people are going to just turn around.
Okay, that's a great idea. I think
Yeah,
my video is 10 minutes long, but the first video is 1 minute and 35 seconds. But I'll do that as well. The great idea.
Because
You have
that
to
was the
keep it-
hardest part about getting into the good stuff in the last
The last
several-
expo.
yeah,
Yeah.
last QSO Expo. And some people just, by God's good grace, never follow instructions unless they're told to. And why?
Well, those are the 100 people I actually handled personally in the last expo. Is that they weren't gonna follow the instructions, and they weren't going to watch the instructions. They were going to have my personal expertise help them into the expo. I'm happy to do that, although on the day of the expo, it's a little bit stressful. So I'll do that, Dan. That's a great idea.
But Eric, we got a whole country over here full of those type of people.
That don't follow instructions.
That's right.
Well, here we say in Israel that the lines on the road are suggestions. So we have a whole bunch of people here that we don't follow instructions very well either. Maybe it's a human trait.
Uh-oh. Well, I have to comment, you have to watch Dan. He comes up with a lot. We call him Lodi Dan, but Lodi Dan was a lot of good suggestions. He's always welcome on our presentations.
Well, I think it's a great idea, Dan, and I'll do my best. Actually, who I'll have help me is my wife, because my wife, after using a computer for 30 years, still makes me feel wanted and at home, because she makes me feel like she's only been using a computer for a month. So I'll have her help me write, those instructions, so that if it makes sense to her, it'll make sense to everybody else. My wife has a PhD in education, so it's not that she's not smart. It's just that when it comes to computers, she refers to it as the computer, and like it's this monolithic thing somewhere in the house that she uses. So if she can do it, then I think anyone can do it.
I was in field service for many years for Fortune 500 companies. And the one thing I noticed in that time, that the high, and it isn't across the board, I'm not trying to stereotype, but more often than not, the higher they're up in management or whatever, the more problems they had. They could manage an entire department or a company just great, but that computer was buffalo. I just think there's a different way of thinking. And Diana's got her hand up, and Diana, I'm working on your project right now. You can see part of this is almost done, and hopefully we get this stuff for the mail to you tomorrow. Go ahead, Diana.
Great, thank you, Eric. I really had fun in the is it Kumo
Space.
Yeah, and it was very intuitive. The first thing I did after getting there was remember the instructions from the last expo, in the films and the video, and I went, okay, I can do this. And so I look forward to participating and checking everything out. It's a lot of fun. Thank you.
Well, thank you, Diana. I look forward to. I will have the first booth when you come into the exhibition hall, and so I hope that you'll come and click on the Enter Lounge, and that's where I'll be on my space station bridge in the Kumo Space lounges. So I hope you'll come and visit.
Thank you. I'll look for you.
Thank you, Diana. Well, anybody else got anything? Barry.
All clear.
Okay, thank you so much.
Well, thank you. Great presentation. Appreciate you coming and taking the time. And hopefully your wife didn't even know you got out of bed, so she didn't have to.
Well, believe it or not, she's getting up in 10 minutes to start her day. So we'll cross like ships in the night.
I see. Okay. Okay, unless somebody else got something more to add, subtract, or multiply, we can close this down. And again, it's been a good person. Oh, Eric, if you don't mind, can you send me your slides?
Certainly.
Okay.
Yeah, certainly. I'll be happy to.
Okay, thank you very much. Okay, everybody. With that, I'm going to close this down, say 73s. And for those that's going to be in tomorrow's presentation, I'll see you then. If not, I'll see you when we see you.